Good morning, people. Today we're doing a little something different with Mind Changers TV. I know we're supposed to have some young kids on here and do some different things with this episode, but with the climate that's going on today, I think it was real critical that we have an honest and open conversation. So today we're here on 8th Street in the corner of 8th and 23rd Avenue, downtown Tuscaloosa Style Connection. And we're gonna go in, have an honest barbershop conversation so you out there can see the climate that we're in now, and you can hear some of the conversation that goes on in the barbershop, because we know the barbershop in our community is a talking point, talking head. So stay tuned. I'm finna go ahead and get me a haircut. Follow me. Start back. You know, we got Community Day in the Park coming up in August, and we're doing a free movie night for all the students. We're gonna rent out the movie theater for one night, and let the students come in and get a little break before they go back to school.
Somebody got the time and patience to get out there and do stuff in the community with our boys. They need that. Yeah, especially with all the stuff that's going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement and police getting shot.
Yeah, that's
what's
crazy.
Going on? It's a sad situation, man.
That's crazy.
You know, we all saw this stuff coming up a long time ago, before Trayvon Martin, before any of that stuff went on. You know, when you watch Roots and some of these other movies, when you start thinking to yourself, that's not now.
Yeah. The climate is hot right now. It's hot right now. We all got to work together to stymie some of the stuff that's going on.
Well, this is a barbershop. You know, we can speak our mind in the barbershop. We always have, you know.
Right? That's always good, honest conversation.
Look, I got a question for you, though.
What's the question?
When you hear Black Lives Matter, what does it say to you?
Black Lives Matter to me, it says that we are important too. And that we're just not a number or a statistic, or we're not just a person in and out of the correctional system. Our life matters too. That's what it means.
Me and Brother Peterson, we had a conversation early this morning about this.
Yeah, man. You hear the Black Lives Matter, then you hear the rebuttal come back. All lives matter. This life matter. This life matter. But, you know, I think I gave Johnny the analogy. It's like, just say if we sitting down at a table and we ready to eat, and the mom and dad eating and the daughter's eating, but little Johnny is not eating. So little Johnny said, well, my life matter. And daddy come back and say, well, all our lives matter. But little Johnny said, but I'm the one not eating. So I'm not saying that yours don't matter. I'm saying in this particular situation, I'm talking about my life right now.
You're saying that you're talking about justice for all is not really justice for all. When you say, man, we all created equal, does that mean we all treated equal?
Yes,
does it mean we all justified equally?
Yeah,
is that what that's supposed to mean?
No, what I'm saying is not that only my life matters. I'm saying my life matters too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I'm one not eating. And in this particular issue,
yeah.
I don't know about you talking about all here, you know, people all over the world. I'm talking about this issue, man. You know, I think that's the premise behind Black Lives Matter. It's been distorted. I think it's been distorted.
So you think the All Lives Matter movement is bucking against the Black Lives Matter to make it non-significant? Man, listen. Listen. Come on.
Break it down.
All Lives Matter is an American historic systemic deflection on them not having to deal with root causes.
Yeah.
Because America has been proficient at dealing with fruit, so as it not, and keep us preoccupied with that, especially in the media, so as not to deal with the root of the issue. There is a reason why Black Lives Matter exists. There is a reason why HBCUs exist. There's a reason why NAACP exists. There's a reason why all of these different situations that cater to or speak to the ills of minority exist. And it is because, see, it's because in this country, Black lives really have not mattered because of the reason for which black lives were brought here in the first place. So you can't, if your root has been corrupt, you can't all of a sudden grow good fruit. And that's the problem, I think, with America. If you look at me, if you brought me here as property, as something to be feared, as a savage, that hasn't changed. The mindset has not changed in America in how they view a black man, a black individual, or a minority. They came taking over the Native Americans. They came with enslaved blacks. When they freed us, here is the whole thing, like Blue Lives Matter, right? But only one of them colors can be taken off. If a black man has on a blue cop suit, but takes off that blue cop suit, well, guess what he is? Still a black man that could be shot by somebody in blue. You see, so all of those things are a deflection because they don't want to, America does not want to talk about the fact that they have devalued or no value for minorities, particularly African American men.
And I think we need to have that open and honest conversation. And that's
Absolutely. Well, see, you can't be honest. Most people don't want to be honest where it indicts them, right? Because to be honest about that means I have to also be honest about white privilege and white supremacy. It's and you say that, when you say things like that, that sounds like hatred, right? That sounds like, and it's not hatred, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. The origin of the police was to manage freed slaves, was to rescue escaped slaves. That's the origin of the police. That's it. So those whole idea of protect and serve was never to protect and serve our community. So on the west side, they police. On the side of town I live on, they protect. You see? So they right that side. So you don't see. I don't see cop cars where I am. I don't see them at all. They live in my side of town.
So they're not doing routine road stops?
Absolutely. They
checking
don't,
license?
the police don't police my side of town.
We had this conversation last night. The guy was saying in West Circle where he lives, it's DUI stops, police stops all the time. But then if you go out where his parents live, out in, I can't think of the neighborhood, somewhere out in affluent neighborhood, you never see the police.
You never.
That's
because
crazy.
they are there to protect. In black communities, they are there to police. And the question then becomes, well, you know, if you like,
why is that?
well, if you believe Giuliani, if you believe Harry Hoke, they think black people have, or minorities have, a particular predilection, a particular bent to crime, a particular bent. But then if you say
That's
that,
what the guy said on TV though.
exactly. But if you say that, then you also then have to talk about the systemic and institutionalized poverty and racism that have created that situation. So they, again, you know, on Fox News, that's what you hear. That's what you
But then
hear.
you only go a little further than that when you look at white collar crimes or blue collar crimes, or you look at someone that gets pulled over with a joint, and opposed to a person that gets pulled over with X amount of kilos of.
Here's the point, Case Johnny. You made a good point. Here's the point, Case Rodney. So if a young black guy over on our side, because the police are policing on that side of town, the minority communities, the least slightest infraction, selling some cigars, selling some cigarettes, selling some CDs, are punishable by death. But a couple of weeks ago, you had an executive in Chipotle and a high hedge fund manager get caught with cocaine on Wall Street. Well, they ain't policing Wall Street, which is where, if you look at it, which is where all of this money is funneling down to our communities. Because our black kids, black boys ain't got no money to have a whole distribution for cocaine and crack. So where they getting it from? How are our communities getting guns? How is that happening? But we are low-lying fruit because, of course, of the slave mentality that they would want you to think that all of us have. You and I, and all of in here, probably more educated, probably more affluent than most of the people that will probably stop us.
Now, when you say, you use the phrase low-lying fruit.
Right.
And when you say that,
Right.
you mean,
Easy to catch.
there you go. Easy to pick, right?
And not only easy to pick, easy to accept that they were picked.
Yeah.
Right? See, so again, we're talking about a mentality. So if I got two boys that got caught doing that, oh, well, see, I expect that. Okay, but they got cocaine and all that kind of other stuff. You don't ever. How come they never get caught? Never get caught. Why? Because you don't. It's harder to sell that to the media, to the mind of people that crime and lawlessness is not colored. It's just who you choose to protect them. The affluenza guy, he gets to go across the border. He gets to do all this stuff. DUI, kill somebody. The judge says, oh, he's.
Oh, you talking about the
affluenza.
That was, affluent.
Right.
Yeah,
This
he's
guy
affluent.
rapes a girl.
too rich.
And who's unconscious in a dumpster. Gets proven that he does it. The judge says, oh, we can't charge him because it would ruin his future. Yeah. Now, if any one of us had been accused of doing that, would we have gotten that? No. So America has to deal with this institutionalized bias. This is why we say Black Lives Matter. Because you've proven to us that out of all of the lives, minority lives don't matter to the majority of this country. And don't get me started on that Make America Great Again.
Oh, wow.
I'm a hush.
Now that's a conversation.
Hold up a minute, but you gotta look at what made America, well, in your mindset, what made it not?
Hold on. Look, it's gonna get deep in here. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of Mind Changes TV. Man, this is a good conversation.
Yeah, we're often go with.
All right, I'm staying here today with Mr. Roland Lewis. He's the District Executive of Boy Scouts of America, the Black Warrior Council. Roland, could you tell the audience that's looking to have kids interested in scouting, how they can get involved in scouting?
Absolutely. Anybody that wants to be involved in scouting in Tuscaloosa City can contact me directly at roland.lewis@scouting.org. That's ROLAND.LEWIS at scouting.org. And we'll do all we can to make sure that all kids have an opportunity to be involved in scouting.
Great. That's another after-school activity we can get our young boys involved in, people. Get them involved in scouting. Scouting teach them a lot of things about leadership, character, and a lot of stuff. I was in scouting when I was young. I loved it. So get involved. Black Warrior Council, Mr. Roland Lewis, District Executive. His information will be on the screen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And that Make America Great Again.
All right, we're back with Mind Changes TV. Man, the conversation is going in a good way. And it's bananas. I hope y'all listening and paying attention to what's going on. City climate in our community. So here we go. What's that?
Well, you know, we were talking about that Make America Great, but what is it that made America not great? And what is it? What was America like when it was?
Yeah, because I'm pretty
so those
sure
are questions that
I'm
now.
pretty sure now the economy is at an all-time high, and job rates are at an all-time high, and we got all this stuff. So why is America not great?
Okay,
Now, I never did
Who was it not great too?
Okay,
Yeah.
well, y'all asking the easy question. Let's ask the hard question. When was America ever great? That's the question. I mean, let's see. Okay, exactly. Okay, so great to who? In 1492?
Was it great for who?
Right? But for who? For the Native Americans? For who? Great. I mean, great in the 1700s? For who? I mean, who was America great for? In the 1700s? In the 1800s during the Civil War? Who was America great for? In the 1920s, 1940s, when they burned Black Wall Street, who was America great for? In the 1950s and the 1960s, when my parents were put in jail trying to vote and sitting there in Orangeburg, when was America great? For who? So what are they talking about? What when they say what make America great again, you have to point to the reason why the millennials and why this generation can't even wrap their mind around it is because they're trying to figure out historically, if we tell the truth, when was it? When we bombed a country that had nothing to do with 9/11?
Turn fans up. They getting hot over there.
When was it? So you need to tell me when we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima? When we assassinated MLK, when we assassinated JFK, when we assassinated RFK, when we assassinated Medgar Evers, when we assassinated Malcolm X, when we were in other countries and CIA people killing their leaders for African countries so that they could be positioned to take the resources from that countries and various countries. So please let me know at what era was America great, and then tell me who was it great for.
That's a clip.
They can't even acknowledge that the deficit is gone, that unemployment is gone, that all of these things, that crime is low, that jobs are back. They can't even admit that the country is on the upswing. Why? Why is not America great now?
Well, what was America 8 years ago? Before.
How is America great and we're still talking about police brutality? So at what period, Mr. Peltz and Mr. Livingston, Mr. Witherspoon, at what point was America great? I think America is reaching for greatness, but her ills won't let her be great.
But this time I'm gonna ask a
It won't let her
question.
be great.
Since you asked me a question, I'm gonna ask you a question with a question, okay?
Right.
Who was the who you're talking about? You said who was America great for? I guess we don't have to make that up.
Was the America great for Indians who owned every part of this country, who are now marginalized to the upper Midwest on reservations? I'm just trying to figure out.
Plantation or reservation?
I bet that's what I'm saying. So who was it great for? When they created ghettos in Section 8, modeling what Hitler did for the Jews, for black peoples in the inner city. So when was it great? I'm just trying to figure out who was it great for.
Well, we're not the ones saying make it great.
Well, and this is my point. This is my point. What frustrates me as a Christian leader is to see other Christian leaders, which is a whole nother subject, to see Christian leaders not denounce and not speak truth. The things that if Jesus was here, he would be tearing down are the things that these people, Christian conservatives in particular, are cheering. Right? So you say in Romans 13, 1-7, that all authority is of God and we should respect the police. You're getting on TV and telling our minority youth to, if you just hush up, if you just do this, if you just do that, if you just do this, then you might not get shot for getting the traffic. You might not get shot for getting stopped at a traffic light, right? But the same people who say that and preach that will be the same people who have historically 8 years disrespected President Barack Obama.
Absolutely.
So how this selective exegesis of scripture gets on my nerves. And so, I'm like, oh, so we got all of these great things. We got all of this stuff that we need to talk about. We can be great, but not if we act like we're great. It's like somebody buying a fake Louis, fake Gucci. It might look it until we check the seams. Right. And we'll know it is fake once you go to get it repaired.
I know my son said something to me yesterday when I left to go to my meeting last night. He said, Dad, where you going? Like they always say, Dad, where you going? What you doing? You always be sit down somewhere. Then he said, be safe. He never told me that before.
Right.
They always say, I love you, Dad, talk to you later, see you later. But they said last night, be safe. And that concerned me. Why would you tell me that? But now I know why would you tell me that, because it could be an instance where I might not come home. All because of traffic stop.
Right. For what? And for what? And for what? Listening to President Obama's speech yesterday in Dallas, this man has had to preside over some of the most tragic situations, more than any president.
Got choked up.
And you'd be surprised that the same people who could feel humanity for the 5 police officers, which was a foolish, it was stupid, egregious, it was dumb. Retaliation, violence begets violence, right? But the same people who could feel for them, you couldn't feel for Alton and for Lando. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't feel for that. That they deserved it, and somehow these officers didn't deserve anything But these men, these black men did deserve it? Nobody's going through the officer's background and checking out what they did in their rap sheet.
Right.
But your first action to when somebody else is killed, one of the minorities killed in the street, is to go find out if they were worthy of being killed.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And then we're asking these young people, you know, I'm preaching every Sunday trying to keep these young kids like, yo, calm down. You know, and I'm using scripture, anger resteth in the bosom of a fool. You know, be angry and sin not. But when you don't value something of life, even if you put a feist dog in a corner and you keep pushing in that corner, one day it's gonna figure out it's got teeth, right? And so you got to start treating the dog like it's got some, you know, like it got some kind of value, or it's going to eventually turn back to bite you. And my question is how do we combat that?
Yeah, that's my question. How do we? I know with me being the president of 100 Black Men, I held a Black Belt regional meeting last night. I brought in the county commissioners and leaders from all over the Black Belt. And we sat down and wrote out problem solutions, how we can fight these things going in the community. And my whole thing was how. How do we stop police brutality? How do we stop crime in our own community? How do we get people back in flow? And how do we get the education system up to par? How do we do that?
You know, Rodney, nothing systemic, nothing that is systemic doesn't have its root in the historic. In other words, if it's systemic, it started from somewhere, right? So my thing is, when the way that we change this, and I think the way that we've got to get truth, and that I think that's one of the hardest things, because truth frees. It frees the oppressed and the oppressor, really. It loosens the grip of the oppressor on the oppressed, but it also shifts the mind of the oppressed to maybe see the oppressor as human, right? So the funny part about it is the police oftentimes, you know, those kind of police see those black kids as animals, and the kids see the police as animals. And the fact of the matter is both of them are overlooking each other's humanity. I think that's the first step, is that we've got to begin to understand each other's humanity and fairly, and see the value of life. The value of life. The value of life. Life, and that life can experience liberty, and that liberty gives me the permission to pursue happiness. Right? And if that does not happen, then you're going to always have this. And then here's the deal. We've got to end snitch culture. We've got to end the no snitch culture, right?
I had that conversation with some students the other day. I was telling them, you got to, in order way to stop stuff in your community, you got to tell it. If you know the dudes out there selling dope or breaking in the house, you got to let the police know. Well, and they was like, no, ain't nobody snitching, but I'm saying, but what if you break in your house? Kill your mother,
absolutely,
rape your mother.
Absolutely.
And you could have easily told it.
Right.
A month ago, but in our community, we ain't telling. We ain't
no,
snitching.
and here's the truth, Rodney. The truth of the matter is the reason why they're not telling it is the same reason why the police not telling it. Here's the deal. Because if I tell on who's in my community that's doing drugs or selling drugs or around murdering folks, the police ain't gonna protect me. Right. Well, the police is the same thing. If I tell on the bad cops, then the police ain't gonna protect me. Right. Right? So it's the same thing. It's like animal. I see you as an animal, you see me as an animal. I'm not gonna snitch on you. And the same culture is funny. The same cultures that pervade in the police department is almost the same culture that is in our communities with regards to protecting, you know, cousins who may be criminals, right? But the difference is that the police have a power structure that backs them up.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Is that structure in place if a black police officer shoots, kills a white person?
Well, we
that
don't
was
know.
innocent?
We don't know. Because, no, and here's the
know
deal.
that, right?
We don't know because the training always seems to work in majority neighborhoods. The training always seems deficient when it gets to our neighborhoods. So we will never be able to test that. That black officer already knows that if I shoot up this white guy, listen. They already know in their mind. Right. They already know in their mind.
There's consequences.
All right, another break. Hey, it's woo. We'll be right back. Mind Change TV. Here at Mind Change, we are a team. So if you want to be a part of this awesome team, you want to promote your product, you want to be a sponsor, you want to put a commercial out during the show, you want to do anything, even if you just want to just be on the show, give us a call at 205-242-1957 or email us at mindchangers1@gmail.com. That's MINDCHANGERS, the number 1 at gmail.com. We would love to have you. We would love you to be a sponsor. We would love you to promote your product. But give us a call. Let's make that happen. Because here at Mind Changers, we are a team.
Yeah, I just want to touch on, man, you said what can we do? I think as community leaders, as parents, whatever, I think the first thing is that we're going to have to realize that convenience and conviction don't live on the same block. We got to realize that if we're going to stand for something, we got to be willing to be inconvenienced. And I think you talked about the meeting you had with somebody was in there, they just wasn't comfortable. Well, these are not comfortable topics. This is not a comfortable, convenient time. So we need to get by that first if we're going to make progress. You understand? I can have my convictions, but I'm not going to be convenienced. And what I say, my goals or what I want to set have to align with my value system. Like I can say all day that we want this to happen, we want this to happen, but if I don't behave in a way that promotes that, then that's what I believe. That's what I believe. So you can tell me all day that you believe something, but you're gonna act according to your beliefs and not what you say. So it's kind of time out for lip service. We need to see action.
Action. And that's what I believe in action. So Roland, I know you work with the Boy Scouts and stuff, man. What can the Boy Scouts do, or what can we do as a community to help solve some of these problems? Because it is a problem.
Right. Well, I was going to back on what Younger said. We have to hear the voices of the youth, because their experiences is, of course, not like ours, but we have to hear what they're saying. We have to hear their concerns and react to what they're saying. We're responding out of how we would respond, but we're not listening to them to hear their concerns so that we can respond correctly and fix the issues. That's why they don't snitch. That's why they don't come. That's why they don't talk, because we're not hearing what they're saying. We're not hearing their concerns and addressing them.
Yeah. I got a raise on my head, so I can't talk.
I think, Rodney, as we talk about solutions, I think the millennial generation, this generation, my kids that are coming up, they're doing what I think is the right thing. I think protesting, I think marching, I think intellectualizing. But here is the issue. I think we also need to shine a light with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not just being championed by Black lives. There are white people that are out there. There are Asian people. There are Hispanic people that are out there on the streets who understand, this generation more perhaps than any other generation prior, understand the need for some deep structural systemic change.
In the barbershop.
This is the barbershop.
It was really, really entertaining. And to end this segment, guys, I just want to say this. Everything you heard today is honest. Come from the heart. Nothing scripted. Nothing wrote down. No subject matter. Nothing like that. It's straight from the heart. These guys, all of us, we spoke how we believe. And we spoke our fears and our beliefs. Truthfully, I'm scared. I'm scared. Not for my own life, but for the life of my son. For the life of the children that I mentor. The life of the children I program. Not just because of police brutality and because of what's going on with the police in our community, but I'm scared for their future. I'm scared of miseducation, no community involvement, things like that. I'm scared. We got to get involved, people. We got to vote. We got to get out and get our communities and make our communities great. If we can make our communities great, then America can be great. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Mind Change TV.